Well, this is just a little introduction to my young box turtles. This is the biggest one of the bunch, and I'm going to hopefully be able to get them in focus so you can see the cute little guys. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but every night when I clean their enclosure, I give them a little swim in some water. They're all going to fit into this coffee can here tonight. This is a pretty little guy. They were just born a couple weeks ago, and I'm real happy with their development so far. I'm feeding him mostly mealworms. He's a cute little guy. Still has a little egg tooth left on his end of his mouth. The shells aren't nearly as pretty as the yearlings that I brought in for the winter this year. Last year's box turtles are in here, and they're quite a bit larger, and they summered over outside, and I decided to bring them in for the winter. These little guys, just so that the yearlings can do better, and all winter long they'll be able to grow. Aren't they cute little guys? This one still has his egg tooth. Look how fat. Can you see that? He's a fat little guy. I feed them little mealworms that I've grown myself in my mealworm colony. This guy here has his egg tooth still, but they've started to eat already. As you can see, the yolk on their plastron is completely absorbed. Cute little guys. And here's another one. Sort of see how he likes to be held. Take a look at his plastron. He looks like he's really nice and fat. Look how he's a very healthy looking little guy. This one here is very puny. He's little, but I think that he's going to do all right. Focus camera. I need to be a little further away. Probably has the camera set on the wrong setting. He's still got his egg tooth on the end of his little beak, but he's I think he'll be fine. Just a lot smaller than the other turtles. I have it set up here in their little enclosure so they can get into about a 1/4 inch of water, and baby box turtles like moisture, and they like water. It's dangerous for them. If they tip over in the water and they can't breathe and they can't right themselves, they'll die. Now this guy here has a pretty colored shell. The shell coloration this year is just different than the shells that on the turtles that I had last year. Very beautiful. You start to see the carapace starting to grow around the scoots. There's another pretty good sized turtle. He's a little darker than that last one. Anyway, this is sort of a nightly ritual for me to pick them all up by hand and put them into a little coffee can full of, not full of water, but with a 1/2 inch of water in there. And if they want to have a drink of nice clean water, they can do that. Here's the last guy. Looks like they ate most of the mealworms. I put about 30 or 40 mealworms in there, and in the mornings I like this guy. He was doing really good too. Let's see how his egg tooth is gone. Well, this is just a little video update of the little box turtles. I gathered their eggs in June, and I gathered 55 eggs, I believe, and out of the 55 I have just 11 little babies there. They usually do well once they get started like this. When they first hatch, they're just so helpless. If you set up the cage wrong, they get tipped over and they can get cooked alive and that sort of thing. And I hope you enjoyed the video. This one here, I just want to show you one of my yearlings. The unusual coloration of his shell. Just very much of a golden color. I like how they're not frightened of me at all. This one here has the most colorful ornate pattern of any of the turtles that I have. Pretty good size for just a year old. They grow very quickly when you give them all the food and water that they need and warmth. I hope you enjoyed this little video update of my little baby box turtles. If you have any questions about raising box turtles, or I give them live mealworms, and I powder them with calcium powder fortified with vitamin D. And because I believe strongly in allowing them to be outside in the summer, and the third year of life, I keep all my turtles outside from then on. But I have a thing called crushed oyster shell, and I highly recommend using crushed oyster shell with your box turtles because they like to eat it, and it helps prevent beak overgrowth problems, which I see online with a lot of people who have captive box turtles. They have very much deformed beaks. If you give them something to chew on, cuddle bone, I use oyster shell, and outside they can chew on rocks or anything else they want. They keep their beaks sharpened that way, and they just do really well.